Chapter 7. The Legacy of a Jir'noor. Raiden took her down one more time, and Owlin was feeling pissed again. "Calm down, Owlin. Otherwise, you will make more mistakes," he shouted at her. Owlin took a deep breath, but she couldn't calm herself down that fast, and her next attack was so pitiful as the previous. Raiden took her down almost immediately and held her in the floor with his crossed spear and body weight. Owlin tried to get up, but he didn't let her. She tried once more with all her strength, and she even growled from the depths of her throat, but he held her still. "Listen, the battle will burn your emotions on fire, and sometimes that could be helpful to survive. You know that well. But most times it will take your mind out of it and you lose skill," Raiden whispered at her. "You were supposed to teach me how to fight, not to seduce me," Owlin answered sassy, as their bodies were glued together. "You know how to fight, Owlin. You just don't know when to stop fighting, and that's your problem," Raiden said. He stood up and extended his hand to help her. She held for a second and pulled herself up. Raiden was tough, but he was helping her, and she was teaching him her tricks from the streets. Since the day they first met, about 3 months before, they agreed to train together and were meeting almost every night to practice. Raiden told her he wanted to survive more than he wants to fight. Owlin asked him why he wanted to fight if he expects to survive that much, and he only snorted and walked away. And they closed their deal. Owlin was teaching him her style of fighting, and he was teaching her the tribe's sword and spear. And Sarian did a good job in teaching her the basics, but Raiden was an exceptional warrior, and she was improving fast. "Do you want to continue?" Owlin asked. "No, we have the Elderlight speech tomorrow, and I don't want to be late," Raiden answered. "Raiden, it is only after lunch. You won't be late unless you are a lazy ass," Owlin said, smiling. Raiden rolled his eyes and said, "I have stuff to do for Javros first. I always have his minor tasks to do, as if I was his servant, not a warrior." Owlin felt sorry for him. They were spending time together while everyone was asleep for a while now, so they started sharing a lot. They had meeting places only they knew about it and have talked about different things. He made her feel less lonely, and she was sure he was feeling the same. They were both outsiders after all, even he being a popular one. Raiden wasn't a newcomer anymore, but he had to train as all Voin had. He was waiting to be called in a mission, but they only asked him to assist in the younger trainings and monitor the outsiders, what kept him in the tribe more than anything else. He was frustrated. "Sounds like you need something to relax. Follow me," Owlin said, pulling him by the hand. Owlin took him until the women dorms and told him to wait in the border. She went into her room and opened her chest, grabbing a tiny glass bottle with a shiny purple content inside. She went out and pulled him to the margin of the arena, where the branch starts to get thinner, and took him to where the leaves could cover them enough, and the moonlight could be seen in between them. "It is dangerous to be here. Blood seeds could fall on our heads. You know that, right?" he said, teasing her. She smiled at him and showed him the bottle. "Do you know what this is?" "No, Owlin. What are you planning?" he asked. "You tell me I have to chill while we are fighting, and I am telling you that you have to chill when we are not." "This is moon balm. Have you ever heard about it?" Owlin asked. "No," Raiden answered, suspicious. "Perfect. You just have to get a little bit in the tip of your finger. Like this," she said while opening the bottle and wetting her forefinger, "and use it in your lips." Owlin extended her hand to touch Raiden, but he stepped back with his eyes wide open. "This is sold by the Wired Wives to relieve the anguish from a woman moon cycle. I am not poisoning you, Raiden." Raiden relaxed and get close to her, still silent. Owlin passed the balm in his lips and spread enough to cover it completely. As it touched his skin, it turned golden yellow like honey and was absorbed. "Tastes like peaches," Raiden said, licking it and starting to show a half smile on his face. "That's how it tastes for you? Interesting. It tastes different for each person." "Our favorite flavor?" she said while passing the balm in her lips as well. "How it tastes for you?" Raiden asked. "Tastes like fresh cherries covered in dark chocolate. Are you already feeling it? The relaxation and softness in your muscles?" Owlin laid looking at the moon, and Raiden followed her. "How did you find out about this balm?" Raiden asked. "Sarian, my father. He is an intellectual and scholar of Alarian culture and magic." We spent a lot of time in Karendal learning and discovering things you would never imagine. Awalin answered, "Your life seemed to be fun. I always wanted to ask you, why did you come here? You didn't have to fight." Raiden asked. Awalin turned her body towards him and faced Raiden for a moment. The balm usually made her sleepy and slowed her down a little, so she had to think about her answer. "I want to find my mother. She was taken by a group of Blood Warden when I was a child, and I have hoped to find her captive in their tribe." "And you, why do you fight?" Awalin said. She was surprised about being honest with him, even just a little, but Awalin didn't regret it. "My father betrayed the Tamarack by selling information to the Jir'noor. I was raised to be a warrior, but our family was expelled, and the shame made my father take his own life, and ours, well, not mine," Raiden said, and he opened the tie of his shirt to his navel and showed her the scar of a stab wound close to his heart. "I am so sorry. He should never do this to you. And to your family," Awalin said. She couldn't contain the urge to touch the scar. It was old. Maybe Raiden was still very young when it happened. "It was a long time ago. I was 12. After that, I was dropped in an orphanage at Brindlehold, and when I turned 16, 3 years ago, I joined the Murakkai Voans." "I still don't understand why you chose to fight," Awalin said. "Because that's what I was born for, that's what I was raised to do. And I want to prove myself I am a better man than my father was," Raiden answered. Awalin was still touching his scar. She was drawing it with her finger without even noticing what she was doing it, and thinking about his story. How could someone else's bad choices change our lives so badly? She then remembered her father, her real father, and Awalin's eyes filled with tears. "Why are you crying?" Raiden asked. "I am sorry. I got lost in my thoughts and forget I was here with you for a moment," Awalin said, drying her tears and straightening her back. "I hope I didn't do anything wrong," Raiden said, concerned. "No, you didn't. I just remembered some things I wish I could forget about my own story. I have been homeless after my mother was taken in Sarian, my father, to finally find me. That's why I fight like I do. But it was almost fun," Awalin said, making Raiden's eyebrows raise. "I mean it. I had a friend, Maiden. He was used to the streets when he was little, so he managed us. He taught me lots of useful things, and I didn't feel so alone for a while," Awalin said with a sad smile. "What happened to him?" Raiden asked. "I don't know. One day I was sick and it was raining. He went out to try to find us food or anything that could make me feel better. Sometimes we had to steal, so there was always a risk, and he never came back. That's my fate, apparently, to watch the people that I love the most walk away one day and never come back. At least Maiden made me feel how it is to have a brother for a little while." Awalin got distracted again, and silently she started playing with her ring. Maiden gave her that ring for birthday a couple of weeks before he went missing, a white gold engagement ring with a solitaire ruby in it. "I am sorry to hear that. But you have your father and he won't go anywhere. You have me. I am your friend if you want me. It isn't good as family, but it's worthy," Raiden said. Awalin smiled, and they heard some people getting close to where they were hiding. They silently started moving back to where they came from, but the footsteps were getting louder too fast, and Raiden jumped in a higher branch, pulling her up just on time to not be seen. Instead of a monitor or a guard as they expected, they watched a couple of recruits to snuggle up where they were moments ago and start making out. Raiden was blushing, and Awalin had to cover their mouths with her hands to hold the laughing. They didn't want to spy on anyone, but now that they were watching unintentionally, it was hard to get out of there and not be caught. So they moved slowly and silently, and when it was safe, they ran away, laughing back to the dorms. "Before you go," Awalin took another bit of balm and passed in his lips. This is for the road, so you can sleep like a baby. Good night," Awalin said while walking back to her cabin. He just waved and left. Awalin used a little bit more in her lips too to calm the spirits that the couple ended up creating with their enthusiasm so that she could sleep peacefully. They made her have excessive imagination with Ryden too while she was in bed, and that wasn't appropriate for that moment. Her dream started as usual, the damn vultures flying around her, waiting for their moment to strike. But this time, they were getting far away, flying higher and higher until she couldn't see them anymore. Awalin looked around and she was alone in the arena. She couldn't see anyone else. Everything was silent, and she could only hear her own footsteps. Suddenly, she felt a touch in her legs. It was her panther, finally. This time, she wasn't in danger for it to protect her, as usual, so the panther was rubbing against her like a domestic cat would do. She extended her hand and stroked its back, and the panther surrounded her. Then she heard a whisper saying her name, which made her heartbeat raise. Munian woke up, confused. It was still night and felt like she had just fallen asleep, so she turned her belly down and hugged the pillow, trying to make herself more comfortable in the heat she was feeling. Awalin started dreaming again. She was laying back in the leaves as she was doing earlier that night, looking at the moonlight. She looked around for Ryden, but he wasn't there, so she laid back, and looking up at the high branch, she saw the panther. It was looking down to her, and in an impetus, she opened her arms to it. The panther jumped fast, but landed slowly over her, as always. But Awalin didn't wake up this time, while the panther was turning human, and the panther ended up becoming Ryden. Ryden stared at her, and she could feel his breath, and the scent of his hair as if he was there. Awalin touched his back, and the braids, and could feel the texture of his hair. It was so real that she made a mental note to write down that dream when she woke up. Awalin could feel his body weight over her, and the warmth of his skin. And Ryden was looking at her, touching her forehead and cheeks with the tips of his fingers, and touching her nose with his. And Awalin woke up. She was blushing. That was the first time her dream didn't finish before she could see the panther's face. And now, well made sense. He was a Tamrock, as she found out. But it was never like that. Intense. She blamed the couple for firing her senses and tried to cold herself to sleep again. It was early morning, and the monitor was about to call them. They didn't have duty that morning, only the official welcome meeting with the conclave, and then a short 3-day break for them to visit family. Awalin was missing Sarian. She wasn't used to be alone anymore, and it was being harder than she thought it would be. She didn't make any friends besides Ryden, and she wasn't even trying to. She once more remembered her dream and changed her mind about writing down in her dreams book. What if anyone found it? Also, Awalin was sure that she wasn't going to forget that dream so soon. The breakfast was served in the patio between the dorms, and Awalin went fast before the meet was over. The moon bomb could give her some extra hunger sometimes, and she needed more protein. Awalin, that bomb, what do they put in it? Morning, Ryden, did you sleep well? Awalin said, smiling. I had a dream. Awalin stopped, momentarily surprised about his comment. What dream? She asked. It was normal, nothing that I had never dreamed before. It was just too real, Ryden said. Dreaming is not a side effect of the bomb. Maybe you just had a vivid dream. I have them all the time. Awalin said. Do you dream about me? He whispered in her ear, making her have a pleasant shiver. Did you dream about me? Awalin asked sassy. All the time. But not like last night, Ryden said. Awalin was open-mouthed, staring at him. She was impressed by the excess of sincerity Ryden was providing, and almost feeling shy like she had never felt before. All the time? Awalin asked. Yes, about our trainings. It's the last thing I do before I go to bed. Makes sense to me. Her shoulders relaxed a bit and she could answer him properly. There are no side effects on the bomb and nothing about weird dreaming. Maybe you just dreamed differently because you had a cool experience before bed. Just chill. Okay, I just needed to know. It was too real, I mean. I could touch you, he said, and they heard a throat clearing behind them. It was Jir'noor and his friends waiting for him to go sit and eat. You should go. You know Elvin can't eat properly without staring you passionately weird. Awalin said, making him grumpy. Fine, see you later, Raiden said, walking away from her. Awalin always eats alone, far from everyone else. She almost hid to be left alone as she was eating, so she could use the time to write in her dreams book. Her experiences sensing the magic were all there, in codes, so she could share with Sarian later. Sometimes she would write in her letters to Sarian, but that was dangerous according to him. They could be intercepted. She couldn't wait to go home. It was awkward how she missed the simple life she had with him. That always gave Awalin an ache in her heart that was almost unbearable. Her feelings were confusing. Awalin missed her real family and wished she could live that life again, and felt guilty, as if she wasn't giving enough value to the wonderful family that Sarian had become for her. At the same time, she felt guilty for being happy when she was only with Sarian, as if the others weren't missed at all, what wasn't truth. Regardless of how she felt, it was always like she was lacking something important and being ungrateful for what she has at the same time. The time for the meeting was coming, and Awalin moved fast so she could get a good spot for herself and Sarian. The communion room was higher in the branches, and she needed to walk for a while to get there. It was a pretty patio, carved into the wood and filled with inscriptions and ink-drawn art. That made her feel the willingness of drawing again, and Awalin thought that maybe she could get some sketchbooks with Sarian those days she would be home. Awalin was sitting at the back of the Elder Light's communion room and staring fascinated at the Murakai totem in the center. Sarian taught her about the totems and how they call the spirits of the ancestors back to the tribe to become Wraithkin, but she didn't understand how powerful they were. Since she got there, the hairs on her body were all standing on end, and she felt a pulse in her heart, expanding to the back of her neck and making her feel pleasant numbness. She couldn't think straight there and thought her spirit was also recognizing the call. Other people there seemed to be calm, probably because they were used to being close to the totem all their lives. But it could be about her special skills, and that would be a problem. Since Sarian found and rescued her, she moved to Karendel with him, and soon they discovered her ability to manipulate the energies of nature. Awalin started practicing and exploring her gift. However, recently it became a priority so that she could control these manifestations well enough to hide them in the tribes. After all, she could be a blood warden, and that was her greatest reason not to be tested in her tribe of origin, but as a Murakai outcast. Awalin was intelligent and skilled with the magical practices Sarian had taught her. She was almost as good as she was with daggers. So Awalin saw no reason to give her body and soul to an ancestor and risk never being the same again. It was too inconvenient for her purpose. And Awalin knew what could happen to a blood warden who had no control over his own body and his Wraithkin partner. More than once, she watched the miserable vultures that took her mother away flying around. They were barely people anymore and gave her the nightmares. Elder Light were going to talk with the new Voan, and most people seemed to be excited about it, but to Awalin was a meaningless tradition. She almost felt jealous of those kids so happy and proud with their families, while to her was only the means to an end. Awalin saved Sarian's spot, but he wasn't there yet. But he was coming. His messenger warned her one day before. "Can I sit with you?" Raiden asked. "Aren't you sitting with your friends?" Awalin asked. "I don't want to sit with them," Raiden answered, still grumpy. "Neither do I. Elvin's fault." Awalin thought but didn't say a word, and allowed him to sit next to her. "My father is coming, so get one more spot," she said. "Does he know about us?" Raiden asked. Unfortunately, it was too loud to be unnoticed. Some girls sitting next to them started giggling, but he seemed to not care. "Yes, he does," Awalin answered. She told Sarian about their training meetings, and what Awalin heard from his research was that Raiden was done with training in a record time when he joined, and that he had only improved his skills. So that was totally approved. "What does he think about it?" Raiden asked, pulling her out of her own mind and random thoughts. "That you should propose me soon before I accept the offer of one of his merchant friend's sons first," she answered. Raiden blushed, and the girls' giggling became a full hysterical laugh and a lot of gossiping, while Awalin continued calmly playing with her ring, as she used to do when she was distracted. "That was unnecessary, Owlin," Rydan whispered. "People already talk about us. They know we have been spending some time together. I just gave them a more fun perspective than punching each other's faces. And people make out here, you saw it last night." "Hi, my daughter. I see you made a friend." "I could call this a miracle," Sarian said, sitting next to Rydan. He then exchanged places with Owlin so she could be in between them. "She only allows me to be her friend because I allow her to hit me with a wooden sword," Rydan answered. Sarian laughed aloud and Owlin followed when she realized that Rydan was serious. That was not a joke. Owlin stared at him for a while, thinking, "Does he really consider me a friend?" And found out she was actually hoping so. Rydan had a full group of followers trying to be close to him. And even being so serious, he had a few good companions as Jir'noor. And she was the most hated outsider ever. And Owlin knew because she asked for it. Her temper was hard to restrain, and she was afraid of using the water techniques she learned in Carindel to control it, and being noticed as potential blood warden. That would be the end for her in the Murikai Voan Legion. "You are staring weirdly. Is there anything in my face?" Rydan asked. Owlin grabbed his chin and started moving his head around as if she was looking for something in there. "No, same punching bag face as usual," Owlin answered, making Rydan half smile. She then turns her back on him to speak with Sarian. She needed to share what she was feeling about the totem and ask some questions. "Do you feel this?" she asked him. "You mean the vibe between you and that boy?" Sarian asked sassy. "No, the energy of the totem. There's something about it that makes me feel weird." "Ariel, light. Did you mention this to anyone?" "No, I was waiting for you," she said. "Perfect. Don't say a word about it. This is a sign of power. You know. Only a selected group of people can feel like you do. Understand?" Sarian asked. "Yes, I do. That's what I was afraid of. I won't say a word. When we are home, we can talk about it." The Elder Light came in the room and everyone stood up to receive them. It wasn't the whole council. Just the leader Renara and two others that Owlin didn't recognize, plus Captain Javros and other Vowans. "Welcome you all. I want to congratulate the new young Murikai that joined our Vowans and thank your families for supporting you. You all know we are in times of war. We have claimed the Elder Tree in the past year as the forces of the Kuraash and the Jir'noor are decreasing, and we understand that we aren't the only ones doing it. Tamrock followed us, as you well know, and soon we believe Ziamak will also join the fight. What I want you all to know is that efforts are being made by our conclave to form alliances that will be beneficial for the Murikai, so we have high expectations on finally reaching the top of the Elder Tree for the first time in centuries. We hope you all dedicate yourselves to the cause as we are doing it. Thank you." Everyone stood up clapping, and Owlin struggled to follow. Her dizziness was getting worse as Renara spoke. "I have to get out of here, Sarian," she whispered. "I got you," Sarian said, supporting her arm to go out. Rydan followed them with his eyes, receiving just a sympathetic look back from Sarian. When they were out of the communion room, she took a deep breath and put her head between her knees to avoid vomiting. "Do you want to leave now?" "Yes. I think it is for the best." Owlin answered, recovering as fast as she could as the crowd was coming out. "What is happening?" she heard Rydan asking behind her. "She is going home with me tonight, and I will ask for my healer of trust to check on her. Don't worry." Sarian answered him complacently. Owlin collected herself and said, "You don't need to worry. In a few days, I will be back to kick your ass all day." And she smiled, teasing him. "Can she communicate non-aggressively?" Rydan asked Sarian, who guffawed and answered, "You are so funny. That explains why Owlin like you so much." "She does?" he asked, surprised. Rydan was still being serious about it, and that was indeed very funny, and she laughed too. "Are you going home for the visit period too, Rydan?" Sarian asked. "I am an orphan." Rydan answered, "Oh, sorry. You are welcome to visit us anytime if you wish." Sarian said, extending his arm to him. Raiden looked at Owlin, waiting for her endorsement. She just shrugged and he nodded his head. Raiden, I was looking for you, Arendor shouted from a group of older warriors. Sarian waved at them sympathetically, and they retributed with respectful bows. Owlin was largely ignored by them as always. I must go. Thanks for your kindness. It is always a pleasure to see you, sir. Raiden bowed to Sarian in respect. See you soon, Raiden, Owlin said, and grabbed Sarian's hand to leave. See you soon, she heard in her back. Is this boy a good ally? Sarian asked. I think so. I like Raiden. He is honest in the most weird and clumsy way. As if he is so committed in being correct that he would turn himself in even for dumb thoughts. At the same time, he won't do that to a friend as his loyalty is more important. I saw it happening. So you trust him? Sarian asked. To cover my back, yes. To tell him my secrets, not yet. And something awkward have been happening since I started here. I sometimes dream about him. He is the panther, Owlin said. Sarian pulled her fast to the carriage so they could speak privately. Interesting. You know your powers sometimes manifest in dreams? Is this type of dream he appears to you? Sarian asked. Exactly. I am having the same dreams as usual, as if the vultures are coming for me as mother, you know. But since I came here for the first time, dreams started happening in the arena or in my bedroom, as if there is no roof over me, and the Black Panther that always comes to protect me is turning into him. Guess who is a Tamrock? Raiden. The Tamrock totem is a panther. But does he fully appear to you or just the animal? Sarian asked, and Owlin blushed. I can tell you if you promise you won't laugh, she said seriously. I promise you. Sarian answered already with a smile in his face, and resting his chin on his hands, he completed, Surprise me. Sometimes in the dream, the panther jumps over me, and it is when happens that it turns into a man. That is the context I see him. Why would I laugh about it? Sarian asked. Because when it happens, he is like over me, all touchy. And it feels interesting, but for protection. Something remarkable is that whenever the panther shows up in my dream, I am unarmed. Owlin explained. Being unarmed means you feel protected. That is indeed fascinating. He may be a good friend for you, Sarian said. Allie, I am not looking for friends, you know that. Owlin answered grumpy. You are so stubborn. Tomorrow I will send a messenger to Raiden, inviting him to have dinner with us. I want to evaluate him myself. Also, he is probably lonely there with no family to visit. Sarian said. Owlin understood how Sarian could relate with him and with her. And maybe that's why they had so much sympathy for each other. Sounds good to me. I think there are more people there, and he has friends amongst the Murukai. Arendor, his sister Elvin, she is a petty blood warden, by the way, and other people. And you? Do you have other people? Sarian said, crossing his fingers and making her laugh. I have you, and I don't need any other friends, she answered. That surprised Sarian, and he felt emotional, grabbing her hand and kissing it quickly. I am very proud of you. Do you know that? Sarian said. I know. Thanks for supporting me, Owlin answered, and they traveled in silence until they were back in Farah's Vale. The house was the way she left it before, just warmer and had some flowers and vases around. I thought you were going back to Carindel, Owlin exclaimed. No, I want to be closer to you in case you need me. I am only going back to Carindel when you can come with me, and hopefully your mother too, Sarian said. Owlin felt some tears in her eyes, and for the first time she had a second thought about leaving home to go to war. Sarian was taking good care of her for the past few years and became family after all. I missed you too, she said, hugging him. So now that we are safe, tell me how you feel about the totem, Sarian said. I was dizzy, but wasn't just, it was making me daydream. I was feeling light and comfortable, like when we used to meditate in Illyris Reach Peak. I also felt powerful, like if I could do or say anything with no consequences. I wanted to live. I can't explain. These observations are quite interesting, Awalin. The totem connects the tribe to the roots of the elder tree and the ancestors, but also speak with our true selves. What you feel around it is meaningful to understand who you are and what your soul craves for. I remember when I was younger and could feel it. Nowadays, I am used to the totem energy, and it became trivial. You will get used to it too, with time and discipline, but until then, avoid being around it, especially with people around. Don't worry, I have no reason to go back there so soon. I am always training, eating, sleeping, or writing in my dream notebook, nothing more. Sounds remarkably boring. Raiden isn't entertaining you? Awalin rolled her eyes, and Sarian grabbed her hand, looking at her straight at the eyes. I know you are decided to find your mother. You are a hero in a quest. But you are only 16, my dear, and life goes so fast you can barely feel it. Fighting a war isn't a child's play, and won't be easy or beautiful there. You know I wish with all of my heart that you give up on it, but I am aware you had made your choice. At least, Awalin, allow yourself to live. Live your life in its fullest splendor and love. Each moment you feel pleasure in it. We never know when it will be our last breath, the last jump of faith. Promise me you will try, Sarian said. I will, Awalin answered. And she meant it. The rest of the night went light and fun. They update each other about their lives and everything that was happening in their mind. Awalin read her dreams notebook to Sarian, and before bed, they decided to practice simple water flow spells so she could use it for calm in a more discreet way during her practices. Awalin missed her bed and her room. There were all her books and treasures from the old and the new life there, and smelled like home. She was thankful for the opportunity to visit Sarian for a couple of days, and that was truly kind from the Murakai people. For what she heard, not all tribes allow their recruits to be near family. Some would stay imprisoned for a whole year. Awalin fell asleep fast. The interaction with the totem made her feel drained and gave her a headache. And she dreamed about the totem. In her dream, she was alone in the Elder Light's patio, facing the totem and feeling pure ecstasy. Her whole body was flaming and she was smiling. Couldn't tell why. Awalin's mind was empty in a peace she had never experienced before, and her body started to float. She felt a hand in her feet holding her in place so she wouldn't fly away. It was warmth and soft and was gently pulling her down, back to the ground. Awalin kept her eyes on the totem. The inscriptions were shining, and she thought that the engravings were moving for a moment. The hands were pulling her through the thighs now. The drawings in the totem started to appear slowly first, and the hands were holding her by the waist. Then the drawings moved faster and faster, and the hands pulled her closer. She faced a man holding her straight, with her feet planted in the ground, and slowly embracing her by the waist. He was keeping her safe there. Awalin got closer to see him properly, but something in her mind was keeping her away from remembering a name. "Who are you?" Awalin asked. The man didn't answer, and he came even closer, touching his lips to hers. "You taste like Raiden," Awalin said and woke up. She was surprised, and her heartbeat was accelerated. "Taste like what?" she exclaimed to herself. She didn't know how Raiden tastes, did she? She quickly laughed, feeling embarrassed, but then laid back. It was a nice dream. A lot better than the one with the vultures that was haunting her for years, so she thought that she could use some more of that before she fell asleep again. The next dream wasn't pleasant. This one, she didn't have in ages and didn't even remember about it anymore. She was holding Maiden's hand, and they were watching Sarian's house in Brindlehold to burn. Next, they were hiding in her home when some homeless men invaded and hurt Maiden. She was hidden and they didn't touch her, but she saw what happened to him and it was terrifying. Then they were in the basement of the temple in Brindlehold, where they hid for years and they were hugging themselves to warm up from the cold rain they got outside. Next, she was sick and the basement was almost looking like a tiny and simple house they made for themselves, and Awilin was seeing Madine's face for the last time. It was a memory. Before she woke up, she looked out through the broken window of the basement one last time, as she did for days, expecting to see Maiden coming home, which never happened. But it was different. Her panther was outside, watching her cry alone through that hole. Awilin woke up in tears and couldn't sleep anymore. She had to go out of bed and make herself some calming tea. She went outside to the hot pools and got in, to cry loudly without warning Sarian. There was some rain outside as in her dream, and that made her cry ever harder until she was so tired that she fell asleep. In the morning, she woke up with the kind touch of Sarian in her face, and she was still inside the water. That was relieving, and she felt revigorated. And her heart wasn't aching anymore. The water fixed her. "Did the restorative water help you, darling?" Sarian asked. "Yes. Almost a miracle. I had Maiden's dream last night." Saying it aloud made her eyes fill with tears, but she didn't need to cry any longer. "That is sad. I am sorry. I thought this nightmare stopped after your first trip to Illyrith's Reach. Did you think about it before bed?" Sarian asked her. "No, but I mentioned Maiden to Ryden a couple days ago, and the totem messed with me because I had a new dream last night and had to do with the totem," Awilin said, getting out of the water and allowing Sarian to roll her with a large towel. "Tell me about it, but inside where is dry, warm, and with some fresh hot tea." Awilin changed while Sarian was making them breakfast, and she went back to the kitchen to help him, forgetting the dreams for a moment, when they heard a whistle from the street. "A messenger this early? Did you call someone already to go to Redon?" Awilin asked. "No, not at all." "Let me check." But while Sarian was answering, Awilin was already in the front door. "Varkai!" she yelled, running and jumping at him. "Hi, princess. I am glad to see you too," he answered, hugging her. "Old friend, it is a pleasure to see you." "I didn't know you were back to Bloodwood," Sarian said, going towards Varkai and hugging him too. "It was a surprise. Tamara wanted to send a letter, but this is more fun." Varkai answered. "Where are they?" "Come, join us for breakfast," Sarian asked, and they went in together. "It is so good to see you, child. You look like your mother. Did you know that?" "So pretty. The boys, they'll go crazy seeing you after so long," Varkai answered. "Where are they? Why did you come alone?" Sarian asked. "It was hard to find a place to live in Brindlehold. Everything is so expensive, and we took some days to settle. The boys don't know that I am here. I wanted to be sure it would be okay to visit due to the circumstances." Varkai said, "Of course it is. People would find out who I am by my name, not the name of my friends. I miss them. I don't see them since forever." Awilin shouted. "They miss you too. You should see how happy they were when they received your letter in Narethil. It looked like it was the summer harvest party. We believed that you were lost, and it was devastating. They are excited to see you finally," Varkai answered. "Then they should come soon, because she will be here for 2 more days only," Sarian said, making Awilin half smile. "Don't tell me, 'Oh, I am sorry, kid, but I was hoping you was reproved at that stupid test.' You should sing like the beautiful bird you are, not shoot people with arrows," Varkai exclaimed, and Sarian agreed. "I know you want me safe, but I want my mother. If there is any chance I can bring her home, I will take it. If I could bring my father back too," Awilin said, still smiling. "Varkai, you should come tomorrow for dinner with everyone. I don't keep maids anymore, but I have contacts here in Ferris Vale that can solve it very fast," Sarian said. "That means getting food from the tavern, but it's delicious and you will love it," Awilin answered. "Thanks, I will bring them. We need a couple more days to settle, and then we can visit you always. We've been talking about leaving Narethil for a while now. Eldermere was good for our business, but Tamara was always dealing with abusive tax collectors, and I had to deal with too many pickpockets. No offense, kid," Varkai said, making everyone guffaw. "I am not offended. I did what I had to survive," Awilin answered. "Perfect. Speaking about dinners, you wait for me here as I get a messenger for our dear Rydan." "Who is this?" Varkai asked. "Your boy's new rival," Sarian said while deviating from a flying slice of bread. "Stop throwing food at me!" Sarian shouted from the porch while giggling. You should invite the guy for tomorrow night. That would be fun, Varkai shouted back to him, and both laughed aloud. Tarion told me in his letters about his girlfriend in the dunes, and that Zarier only care about sailing, so I don't think they would bother to compete. And Raiden is just a friend, Awalin said. You have no idea, do you? They were talking about you all the time in the ship coming back. They showed your picture to their little sisters, and even them are excited they want to meet you at all cost. Awalin blushed for a while and felt slightly sad. They were dear to her, but also part of memories from a past that brings her pain. So she was struggling a little bit to deal with their visit so suddenly. I am excited to meet them too, Awalin answered. They heard Sarian at the front door coming back from the street. So Raiden is invited for today for now, but I can always invite him to stay for the night, and Tarion and Zarier can do their best tomorrow. Sarian! That is not funny, Awalin exclaimed, holding a laugh. Father, call me father. Don't forget, Sarian said. They spent the morning speaking about Varkai's life in Narathel. They left while Tamara was still pregnant of Maelis, and 1 year after giving birth, Maria came. They were extremely attached to their older brothers and wanted to spend as much time as they could around them. They even learned how to manage Zarier's canoe on the river. When Varkai left, Awalin was in a great mood and finally felt excited to see them all. She still felt tired and needed to rest some more before Raiden arrived later. He accepted the invitation to have dinner with them by sunset, as Sarian prefers. Awalin tried to meditate to silence her mind for a little, but every time she closed her eyes, she could feel those hands in her waist making her lose concentration. Maybe I should listen to Sarian and live a little bit, she said to herself, smiling. Awalin was young, but her life in the streets made her grow faster than she should. Maydee never did anything inappropriate with her, but they used to sleep in the same mat to warm themselves, and sometimes they would exchange affection and sweet words. Life in the streets was already hard enough for them not to be soft to each other. So, in Karendel when she was 14, she met Darionis. He was an Alarion a little bit older than her and used to watch her training with the wind and the cliffs. She had just come back from Illerith's Reach and was practicing what she learned to focus her mind in her objectives. He was always looking from afar, and Awalin enjoyed it when he was watching her. He was brunette with pretty curly hair, and his eyes were sweet and kind. So one day she stopped pretending she wasn't seeing him there and invited him to get close to her. Darionis was her first kiss, and it happened under an olive tree, after a picnic he prepared for them. She spent her free time with him for 6 months in a row, and for the first time, she felt in love. She knew she loved Maiden before, but it was different. It was innocent. But Darionis showed her how to be in love really meant. He was her first for everything. She was lost in her thoughts when Sarian approached her. May I know, why are you smiling? Are you thinking about Raiden? No, Darionis. Sarian's face turned grumpy immediately. He wasn't a man of hating people, but Darionis was an exception. Don't be moody. I was just thinking about what you told me. To live my life fully. I think I only did it with him, Awalin said. No, dear. You did it last with him. A broken heart sometimes can change us forever. That's why I asked you to think twice about joining the war. You were too hurt back then, when you decided, Sarian said. I know Sarian, but I am not hurt now and I didn't change my mind, did I? True. But you are also not living your life anymore. There are beautiful people out there waiting to be loved and ready to love you back. Darionis was just your first. You will always remember him, but that's it, just a memory. A memory that I would love to kick in the balls, Sarian said. Thanks and don't worry. It was just a happy memory that crossed my mind, Awalin answered. It was truth. She was thinking about the happy memories, but it wasn't a fact that she wasn't hurt anymore. After everything she went through before Sarian found her, Darionis became a sigh of relief for her. He meant a new chance to feel genuinely happy, to live again instead of just surviving. Darionis probably never understood how much he meant to her, and it was a lot more than even Sarian could comprehend. For a while, he meant hope itself. Awalin now was healing and feeling loved once more by her new father, Sorian. That was solid and trusty and was fixing every little broken piece of hers. But somehow her joy never came back to her soul, and that's why she was still looking for something else. For a touch she knew she could feel, but it was lost. "I believe your Raydan will be here soon. If I was you, I would get dressed as pretty as you know you can be," Sarian said, and Aweline smiled. "You are right. I will be back soon," she said, kissing his cheek and going to her room.